if I let them sleep like today, they slept until 7:30.
Hey guys, so picking up where we left off from before with the previous 3 tips that we spoke about on Kell's page, Simply Handmade, we're picking up with our tip number 4 for getting your babies to fall asleep and sleep through the night. So our 4th tip would be establishing a nighttime routine. Meaning, for us, we give them a warm bath, we give them their last feeding, we use a Baby Ganix bedtime bubble bath. We just kind of calm them down, set them up in a nice dark room, and they typically tend to go right to sleep.
Yeah. Another tip you could do is to read them a nice story. That's also a cue, like anything to give them cues to indicate that it is time for bed, it's time to relax, it's time to go to sleep.
We just kind of got into the schedule ourselves and just kind of kept it up. Don't eat that, man.
Ew! Alright.
We put them down about between 7:30 and 8 o'clock or 8:30. These guys, they're ready to go out for the night. And that's a beautiful thing because it still gives us time to just hang out, watch our shows, and just have dinner together, which is a beautiful thing. And with kids, they can easily just throw that out the window.
Exactly. Eat up all your time.
So establishing a good nighttime routine, whatever works for you, whatever's conducive for your schedule, get that established. It definitely helps out a lot.
Tip number 5 is to be patient and allow your child to have their adequate weight gain. We went to a lactation consultant in the beginning because I was breastfeeding, and we asked her, we were like, how long before they're gonna fall asleep? We're desperate. And she said typically babies start to sleep through the night when they're around 12 pounds. 12 pounds is the magic number. That doesn't mean, as soon as they hit 12 pounds, they're gonna fall asleep. Like, you have to establish some routines and everything. That's when you can actually try to do the next tip.
Yes, and once they actually get to that 12 pound hurdle, that's when they're able to sleep through the night, and you can start to differentiate whether they're just used to waking up and getting a bottle in the middle of the night, or if you could take away a feeding, which is our next tip. Tip number 6, take away a feeding. For us, it was the 2 a.m. feeding that we started with, because we kept them on a 2, 5, 8, and 11 schedule. So when they woke up at 2 a.m., instead of giving them the bottle, we just gave them the pacifier to gauge whether they were really hungry or if they were used to the schedule.
Yeah, definitely have an alternative feeding method. Ours was the pacifier. We highly recommend it at this point. Yeah. We've had parents tell us that it might be a little tricky. We know it's a controversial topic. Do you give them a passy? Do you not? But for us, it definitely worked. It gave us sanity and sleep. So thank you, pacifier.
They don't get hooked on the pacifier. They get hooked on it if every time they flush, you shove it in their mouth.
Exactly.
Right now, they're not. You see, he doesn't have a pacifier. He's talking like crazy, but he doesn't have his pacifier. Yeah. Because when they're outside of the crib, when they're not going to sleep, we don't give them the pacifier. We just kind of let them do their own thing.
So with taking away the bottle, make sure that when you're giving them the pacifier, you kind of see how far you can go. So it's not going to be a one-shot deal. Like when you give them the passy, they might, lose it. They'll cry. Get up, give it back to them. See what happens. Get up, give it back to them. So it's still going to be sleepless nights during this whole process, but we promise you, it is worth it.
What you're doing is you're just stretching their sleep. You just want to, instead of getting up at 2, you get up at 3. Which is good for you. You get that extra hour of sleep down the line. And then that extra hour becomes an extra 2 hours. So now they don't want the 2 a.m. They don't want the 5 a.m. They'll just sleep through the night. Kind of breaking away from the schedule overnight. But you kind of come back to it during the day.
They go down at 8 o'clock and they wake up around 5:30. That's when I wake them up before I go to work. And if I let them sleep like today, they slept until 7:30. Whenever I went to bed, I got up at 7:30. That is glorious. From 8 to 7:30. That is almost 12 hours of sleep. Yeah.
I can only dream of such a thing.
So yeah, this is not like, they wake up at 4 a.m. No, they wake up at a reasonable time.
These
So.
dudes sleep. When they sleep, they sleep.
sleep.
And when you wake them up, they're not happy about it.
Yeah.
So,
Like, a lot of the times I have to be like, no, it's like 7:30, 8 o'clock. Like, you're gonna wake up to eat. The concern part comes out of me, but I can probably let them sleep longer. They will not starve themselves. The babies know when they're hungry, they will get up to eat. So just know that.
yeah. Stretching the sleep kind of leads into the next tip, which is you have to know your babies cry. When they're crying, they might be crying because they're just not happy, they want to be changed, or they're hungry. And when our boys are hungry, you know.
Exactly. Like, for instance, Baby D has this really high-pitched squeaky cry when he's hungry, and Ephraim has a hangry cry. He's like,
Feed me now.
feed me. As a parent, you're gonna know your kid.
Exactly.
You know your child better than anyone knows your child. That's why they're your child. I know, you like with us.
Yeah.
Their grandparents. Like, you know, every time they cried.
Like, are they hungry?
Yeah.
They're not hungry. They're
That's
just
like, I feel
finished eating.
like everybody says that about a
Yeah.
baby though. Like, as soon as they cry, are they hungry? Are they this? Are they that? It's just like, just be confident in what you know about your child. You'll know when they're tired. You'll know when they're hungry. You know when they're fussy. You know when they want to be changed. Know your child and be confident in that. Own it.
Yeah, that's a big thing too, because you get around people and it's just like,
Yeah, especially as a first-time parent.
With
Yeah.
us, we want to be polite. So it's like, oh yeah, all right, I'll consider it. Maybe they are hungry, and you know dang well they're not hungry. It's just like you want to appease people around you.
Yeah.
This is where it gets really tough, because sometimes you just gotta let them cry. Yes.
He looks at me because I have a hard time dealing with that. That step. It is very important, but it's definitely by far the hardest step. As a parent, hearing your kid cry for 30 seconds straight is like torture.
Yes.
It's torture because each second is just like, it's not one Mississippi, two Mississippi. It's like 1, 2. Those seconds are the longest seconds, but trust us. Let them cry it out. See what they want. That's how you'll know what they want. That's how they'll establish their language to you guys.
Yeah.
So
I mean, everything is intertwined because you recognize a cry. If it's "but I'm hungry" cry, then you're not gonna sit there and let them be hungry.
Exactly.
You're gonna attend to them. But you just gotta recognize what the cries are and let them cry it out a little bit. Because for a while before they hit that 12-pound mark, they would. It took us about half hour to get them to sleep because. They were fussy. They wanted a bobo, or the bobo will come out of their mouth. They don't want the bobo. They want you to pat them. They want you to rub them down. And we weren't too crazy about picking them up and rocking them and holding them. And
because we, like we said in the first video, you don't want them to get used to hand.
Yes,
Don't make your child get used to hand.
Can't work.
Because once they get used to that hand, you're in trouble.
Exactly.
Because it's hard. It's really, really hard to break that. We've seen that with other kids, and that's what made us be like, no.
And very few times that we ever have to pick them up. And sometimes they just don't want to sleep. I mean, there's been a few nights when I was sitting up watching whatever they wanted to watch, whatever, it calmed them down. But there was very few nights.
Very. We probably count those on one hand.
Yes. Everybody's gonna want to give you advice, but you truly gotta weigh what's good advice and what's not.
Even with what we're saying, take what you want from it, you know. But we're just letting you know what works for our children, what the steps that we took, kind of like it also came naturally. Like the steps that we took came naturally. It was not forced. It wasn't like you have to do this, you have to do that. Like it's kind of like, oh babe, let's try this out and see how it works. Let's do that.
A lot of trial and error.
Yeah.
I mean, you try it out. It's your kid. I mean, it's an
what you
experiment. You experiment with them.
Truly,
as
it
they
is.
grow, you grow.
Yeah.
You just have to take the time. It's not easy, but hey, they're not going anywhere.
Exactly.
So you have nothing but time to put the effort in.
You're stuck with us, Donald and Ephraim.
Yeah. Hopefully these tips help you out. Take what's useful, disregard what you think is unuseful, but hey, it's tried and true. It's worked for us.
Yeah, with
two
children.
times over. So there may be something to it. Thank you guys for checking out this video.
Yep.
If you like it. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please do. And also share it. Like we said, if you know a parent that's in need, direct them to this vlog because these tips may save their life.
May just save their life. Bye, guys.
Deuces. So I just kept walking, and I got past the truck, and I kind of just slowed down and looked to see her reaction. Man, that woman almost jumped out her skin. I felt so bad.